Today I'm aboard the Scott Ransom 910. It's a pretty aggressive kind of enduro slayer 29er slash 650 bike. You can swap the wheels. It's got 170 millimeters up front, 170 millimeters in the rear. It's one of those bikes that I had to put a little bit of work into to make it fit me right. I ended up slamming the seat all the way forward. I'm riding it in the low bottom bracket setting, and I had to shorten the stem to kind of get the cockpit to feel right to me. Came with a 50 millimeter stem, and I dropped down to a 40. But now that the bike's all tuned to my size, it definitely fits well. The seat angle it's kind of a good middle. You know, it's nothing shocking at 75 degrees in the low setting, but it is a good angle for climbing. It doesn't feel like you're super far forward, but I definitely feel centered over the bike, maybe just slightly rear compared to some other bikes. This bike features a twin lock system, which is pretty wild. It's a cable actuated remote lock system that triggers the front shock and the rear shock at the same time. And there's a half and full mode. The half kind of firms it up, and the full pretty much completely locks it out with a little breakaway threshold. And I find that this bike climbs good enough where you really can leave it wide open and just benefit from the traction. But I have found myself using that twin lock system on fire roads. It's just a really convenient location, and you might as well, as long as it's on your bars. I find that despite all the travel, this bike feels very nimble on the climbs. It's very easy to put it exactly where you want it. And for such a big bike, it climbs amazing. And as you might expect on a bike this big, it's got a 64.5 degree head angle, super slack. It's got a 437 millimeter rear end, so nice and stable, a little bit longer, and a 75 degree C-tube angle. The Fox Nude rear shock is pretty wild. It's got a lever right on the side of it where you can tune if you want the stroke to feel more linear or progressive. And the wild thing is how big of a change it makes. Time for more downhill. Yeah, for being a bike with so much travel, it's really fun on kind of pumpier, flatter zones. It's just easy to keep your speed through everything. It's just got a great pedaling platform too. Feels good cranking out of the saddle. Yeah, it's feeling pretty fast. Ooh. It's got a lot of rollover power with all that suspension and the big wheels. Something that you notice early on is just how powerful these XT brakes are. Oh, what a fun bike. Woo. It's so easy just to get the bike airborne and honestly point it in the direction you want it to go. Feels good in the corners. Yeah, this just feels like a race machine. And it doesn't feel like that long travel is holding you back. It feels like it uses its travel really well. One thing that I noticed right from the get-go on the Ransom is just how dialed the Fox suspension feels. It just feels so silky smooth, and just the way the oil must flow through the shocks feels incredible. Such a plush bike. Oh, the way it just keeps its speed on all this, I'm having a blast. Definitely feels like the bike is pushing me to go faster. So my final thoughts, who is this bike for? I definitely think this bike's for, you know, somebody who's into racing that loves to do day-to-day adjustments on their bike. You can adjust it from linear to progressive. You can firm it all up with a flip of a switch. You can change the ride height from lower to higher. And then obviously somebody who's riding more aggressive terrain. But for being a big bike, it's also something that you can take on a big pedaling excursion. It's easy to pedal and holds its speed over every kind of terrain. If you like this review, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And for the full write-up, go to freehubmag.com.